Greetings, loved ones. Let's take a journey to the year 1903. Then President Theodore Roosevelt said of his eldest daughter, "I can either run the country or I can attend to Alice, but I cannot possibly do both." And no quote has ever made me want to learn about a young woman more. Alice Roosevelt Longworth was the original influencer, using her celebrity status and keen understanding of public attention to advocate for political causes and reshape the role of women in the earliest 20th century America. The life and times of Alice Roosevelt Longworth has many layers, so this video focuses on her celebrity as a young woman, primarily during her father's presidency. If you want to learn more about her entire life, I will link some great sources below. And as a reminder, I am not speaking on behalf of anyone. These are my thoughts and ideas based on thorough research that I have done. All my sources are linked below. In the opening line of her book, Alice writes, "I can hardly recollect a time when I was not aware of the existence of politics and politicians." Alice Roosevelt was born to heiress Alice Halloway Lee and then State Assemblyman Theodore Roosevelt on February 12, 1884. Tragically, both Alice Lee and Theodore's mother passed 2 days after Alice's birth. Her father remarried Edith Caro in December 1886. Alice's memoir, Crowded Hours, was my primary source for this video, but her tellings of her own life in this book contradict a lot of what historians know about her. For example, she doesn't describe her childhood as lonely at all and remarks that she finds it even offensive to consider her stepmother as her stepmother, as she has only ever felt like Edith was her mother. Historians and researchers dispute this, calling their relationship fraught over many instances. And reading between the lines, I notice how little time Alice spent in her parents' house, especially as they began to have more children, but Alice doesn't tell it that way. Instead, she tells how lucky she was to spend so much time with her beloved Aunt Bambi. She spent so much of her childhood around adults, remarking, "I simply loathed not being a grown-up." On September 14, 1904, Theodore Roosevelt assumed the presidency after the assassination of President William McKinley. He was then elected to a full term in 1904, making him the 26th president of the United States of America. Alice was 17 when her father became the president. "I was the daughter of an enormously popular president, the first girl in the White House since the days of Nellie Grant, and I looked upon the world as my oyster." People loved Theodore Roosevelt. He was an army general and then a powerful leader and speaker. He was just the man. The public fell immediately in love with his whole family, but most of all with his eldest daughter, Alice. By the age of 18, Alice was dubbed the most photographed woman in the world. She has a reputation of being wild and rebellious, but in my research, I have concluded that she behaved much less like a heathen than she did like a man. The Roosevelt children had all these exotic pets, including a grizzly bear. Alice had a pet snake that she adored and carried around with her constantly. Practically the entire country knew the name of Alice's little green snake, Emily Spinach. A fantastic name. The story goes that Teddy banned Alice from smoking under his roof, so she was known to smoke on the roof of the White House. As Alice became a household name, the public consumed her rebellious antics as fast as she could serve them up. Forbidden from smoking in the White House by her parents, she smoked on the rooftop, carried around a pet green snake, attended horse races where she was as much an attraction as the thoroughbreds, according to the New York Times, drove a car, sans chaperone, danced, snuck whiskey into dry parties. Her popular appeal did not extend to the Women's Christian Temperance Union, and cavorted with fun-loving peers. However, this wild character must not have gone much further than the newspaper, as Theodore Roosevelt placed immense trust in Alice, frequently sending her to foreign countries as an ambassador on his behalf. In 1905, he sent her on the highest visibility trip yet, a months-long sojourn to Asia with then Secretary of War William Taft, which included stops in Japan, Japan, China, Korea, and the Philippines. The stakes were high, with the Treaty of Portsmouth, Japan's growing domination over Korea, and the United States' interest in the Philippines all under negotiation. Because while Miss Girl loved to party, she wasn't messy. She was hardly a drinker. That whiskey she snuck into parties was never for herself. She was just the life of the party and a top-tier conversationalist. The father and daughter did butt heads, both having the same strong-willed personalities. It's inevitable. Some historians account resentment from Theodore to Alice, as the public loved him, but they adored her. She was Princess Alice, but he was never King Teddy. But they were always on the same side, and Alice was fiercely defensive of her father. Both Theodore and Alice were aware of the power that Alice held, being such a beloved figure. In a town where conversation was its own currency, Alice's clout stemmed from her ability to stay current. Alice's favorite color to wear was this steel blue, the same color as her eyes. And even without colored printing, Alice made this the most popular color in the country. To this day, this shade of blue is referred to as Alice Blue. And many believe there is no coincidence with the color of the little girl's dress in the 1951 film, Alice in Wonderland. Alice was never a suffragette, though she did threaten so once just to piss off Edith. She was outspoken, unapologetic, assertive, and highly educated, traits that made her a model for women's empowerment. She defied societal norms by wearing pants, speaking publicly, and engaging in political discourse at a time when such behaviors were considered inappropriate for women. Although Alice did not hold an official political office, she was highly influential in shaping political conversations at the time. She was an advocate for the Progressive Party and used her platform to speak on important issues. The Progressive Party stood for conservation of natural resources, protection of less fortunate members of society, responsibility of large corporations, regulation of railroad rates, mediation of the conflict of capital and labor. Her influence was not just personal, it was aligned with larger political movements. Alice frequently brought power brokers together in her home in the heart of Washington, D.C. Despite being known as a racketer, she shared more than ideal gossip. By mixing the right people at the right time, she could aid or hinder candidates and bills. She denied influencing votes, but the steady stream of lawmakers and her regular visits to congressional hearings suggest otherwise. Post her father's presidency, Alice wrote articles for big publications voicing her opinion and often saying truly heinous and horrible things about other people. Alice was a harsh and outspoken critic of Franklin's New Deal policies during the Great Depression, comparing his running of the country to his physical disabilities. Of Eleanor, Alice declared herself bored with her type of piety. The Franklin and Eleanor mentioned here being her cousins. Alice's style and opinions, whether on fashion, family, or political issues, became emulated. She had an immense impact on the public views of what a young woman could be and do. When she campaigned for her new husband in Ohio 14 years before the passage of the 19th Amendment, a correspondent wrote, "Ah, if once and once only Ohio could vote for Mrs. Nicholas Longworth instead of her husband, what a landslide there would be." Her husband's response to this glowing endorsement went unrecorded. Alice Roosevelt Longworth's ability to harness public attention to use to advocate for political causes and challenge traditional gender roles makes her the OG influencer. Celebrity obsession is not new within the digital age. Interesting women have always captured minds, which is why interesting women have always been famous for allegedly doing nothing. Through her bold actions and unapologetic voice, Alice demonstrated that women could wield significant influence both in public life and political discourse without holding an official title. She paved the way for future generations of women to take center stage. Alice Roosevelt Longworth proves that influence isn't born from titles, but from boldness, intelligence, and unapologetic authenticity. Her ability to captivate and challenge the norms of her time show that being an influencer isn't a new byproduct of the digital age. Influencers aren't new. nor are they inherently bad. The issue with current influencer lies with the shallow, money-driven idea of just selling products. Impactful influence comes from engaging with interesting, thoughtful people who shape conversations and inspire change, as Alice did. Thank you so much for watching this video. It truly means the world to me. If you liked it, please like it. If you have something to say, please comment it. If you want to see more video essays, please subscribe. Thank you so much to my father for getting me this very thoughtful Christmas present. Okay, bye. I love you. Get home safe.